What I'm going to explain next is extremely important. So what are the constructs of a Java application, right? See, this is the next point that we are supposed to discuss. What makes, what are the building blocks of your Java application? Okay. As far as the language is concerned, the very first thing is the class itself, right? You create classes, not one, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of classes will be created in a full blown real life application. And then you create interfaces, so these are the fundamental building blocks, you can say, classes as well as interfaces. Now, when I say interface, what is an interface? Interface is a contract. Interface is a contract, and it has got just simply the declaration of the services. Try and understand this point very nicely. Now, from here onwards, I'm going to make use of the IDE. Up till now, I've been writing code in my assembly here using public static void main and all that kind of code I have written, but in demo.java class and also in the other customer dot Java class. But then I wrote that code using the editor. Now I'm going to do what here? I'm going to run my Spring Tool suite. This is one of the uh, IDEs that you can use. You can use NetBeans. You can use a lot of other IDEs are available in the marketplace. So you can download any one of them. Eclipse, of course. The Spring Tool suite is actually sitting on top of Eclipse. So you can see this is as good as an Eclipse IDE. Okay. Now I'm going to do what? I'm going to go back to pre-inst and STS workspaces and / also Java fundamentals. So this is where my workspace will be created. Okay, right. And okay, right. So now you see this, I can create a new project here, and I will create a simple Java project. I will give the name of the project as demo itself. Here the version is Java 11, but then I will go back to Java 1.8 and I will select that as Java 1.8. Okay, and rest everything is all as same, and I'll say next, and I say finish. So this is mine. I think you missed the first part. I believe you missed the first part. Got it. So you see, I have created a simple application here in my Spring Tool suite. I created an application called demo. And then within this, I can very well create a package. Don't worry about what the packages are. And okay, it was a class. Okay, so I'll say, I want to create a package and I'll say demo is the name of the package. And then in that, I'll create a class. Okay, so we have already created a class. Like demo is the class that we created through, using our public static, sorry, using our, the VI editor. We had already created that. Let me change this is the new, workspace that I've created. So let me increase the font size of this. The default font size would be this. Okay. Yes. Now, okay, now see this. So we have got a demo class already created. I'm creating it here once again in this project. Alert system.out.print. See the hotkeys that, shortcut keys that I'm using. That's okay. That's the trick of the IDE so that you become more and more effective. That's fine. That's beyond the scope of our discussion as of now. And then I'll write hello world, and I'll say hello world, JVM started, right? The JVM is started. Okay. Now, next is you remember I also did create a class called customer class, and then in that customer class, I wrote a function called public void. I'll write print customer details. Okay, this is what I have written, and then in that, I write system.out.println, and I'll say printing, okay, customer. I'm just hard coding 101, and I'll say IBM is the customer, right? This is what it is. So from demo, can I create an object of that class? So how do you think the classes actually communicate with each other? They create objects and they invoke the methods or the objects of the other class. So this is one class that I have customer.class. This is another class. But see, the entry point of my application will be through this. right? Public static void main. And from there, I can start instantiating the other class, not my words, right? So when I, next time when I talk to you and when I say instantiating a class, you must know what actually I am talking about, right? So here I'll write, what do you mean by instantiating a class? Creating an instance, or rather creating an object of a class. So I have got a customer class that I have created here in my application. And then I say customer is equal to new customer. One very important point. This session is not to teach you all the syntax of Java. I'm not expecting you all to actually start writing these classes and creating objects of these classes and invoking functions. I want you all to focus on the theoretical part that I am demonstrating to you, or rather, I'm trying to convey to you with the help of this piece of code. Okay, what is that point? The point that I'm trying to make to you is that there will be several such classes in your application. I have created 2 classes. There will be hundreds of classes. In a large application, you will have thousands of classes in your application. And if that application is supposed to be executable, then in that case, at least one class will have public static void main, which will be the entry point to your application. Correct? And then from one class, you create an object of another class and then invoke a method on it. And then from that method, you create an object of some other class and then invoke the method on it, and so on. So from demo, I'm creating an object of class customer. This is the method in that. So I go back over here and I have created the object of class customer. So see customer is equal to new customer. This is how you create a new object. And then I say customer dot. What is the name of the function? What is the name of the method? Print customer details, right? When I say method function, as of now, take it interchangeably. Like, I may call it a method or I may call it a function. It's one and the same thing. Print customer details, right? Now, when I click right mouse button, run as, and I say Java application, you can see on the console, I get hello world printed here. You can see as a result of this system.out.println, and then print customer 101. This is as a result of this particular function that gets executed, which I have called from here, right? That's our, so 2 classes is what I have created. Okay. So I have yes another. Correct. Okay. Super. Correct. Now please see this. So we have now, yeah. So this is just a recap. We were talking about the classes and interfaces. So we have created 2 classes and I have an interface here. Correct. So the point here is try and understand this very important point. This is a $1,000,000 point, friends. In Java, I am talking about classes and interfaces. If you think that it is only the concept of Java, then that's not true. Any programming platform, any development platform that you move to, you work with, suppose a JavaScript based, programming platform. You write a Node.js based application. You use Java, you use Scala, you use Ruby, you use Python. You will everywhere you will find the concept of classes that provides the behavior, and you will find the concept of interfaces that declares the behavior that the class would offer, right? So please understand this, so very nicely that you must be able to take this understanding, to the other development, the other programming platforms as well. So the point that I'm trying to make here is you've got the concept of classes, and you will see that the classes provides behavior. Take a look at this customer class, for example. This is the behavior, right? What is a class? A class is a template. I repeat, a class is a template of how the objects will look like when created of this class. Don't miss this part of the explanation at all, my dear friends. This will be helpful to you all throughout your career. What is a class? A class is a template of how an object will look like when created of this class. Okay, human being is a class that God the Almighty created. I am an object of that class. You are an object of that class. So when he created that class, he created 2 most important things. So any class will have 2 most important things. One is the properties of the class and the other will be the behavior of the class. I repeat, one is the property and the other is the behavior. For example, if human being is the class, age, height, color, all of these are the properties of the class, right? Properties of the class. And walk, talk, correct, fight, all of these are what? These are the methods, these are the behavior declared or rather defined in the class. I repeat, a class is the set of properties and the behavior that whenever an object of that class will be created, it will behave exactly like this and it will have the properties which are defined over here. For example, if I say human being is a class that God created, he definitely, when he created this class, he did create what? What are the properties? right? There are many other properties, but yes, you've got age, you've got height, you've got color, right? That's how it is. Correct. So when an object of that class is created, right, say Shakir is an object of that class, he will definitely have an age, he will definitely have height, he will definitely have color. The values of these properties will be different from one object to the other. Try and understand this point. So Shakir is one object, right? And say Shankar is another object. Correct. So Shakir height is different, Shankar's height is different. They may be same also, that's fine. But then these are individual states. I have the properties and the values of those properties together defines the state of this object. I have got Shankar standing next to me. That Shankar also belongs to the class of what? He's an object of which class? Same, human being. Now he has got his own height, he has got his own color, he has got his own age. Now, these are the values. So, whatever the value of these properties for Shankar is, that defines the state of Shankar. So, the state of an object is defined by the properties that are declared in the class. I repeat, the state of an object is defined based on the properties that are declared in the class. Correct? And how will that object behave is defined by the functions that you define in the class. Right? So two things, any object has got two things. One is the state. What do you mean by state? The properties and the values of those properties put together is the state of the object. And the methods that are written in the class that defines the behavior of the class. So for example, in case of human beings, walk is the behavior. And you will always notice that the name of the classes are nouns. Right? If you don't know what a noun is, or if you've forgotten what noun is, right? Obviously, you all know what is a noun. But if at all, you have forgotten your English that you have learned, see, English is a foreign language for us, right? Let's accept the fact it's not our mother tongue. So it's absolutely fine to not being good in English is absolutely fine, right? Though we must learn this language because all the literature, the huge amount of literature that is available on the face of this earth is in English, right? As of today, correct? So you must know this language very well. So nouns, you see, customer is a class, it's a noun, correct? IBM is an object of that class. That's a proper noun. Right, that's how it is. And then each one of these functions that you define here in the class, they define the behavior, they define the actions. That means it must be a verb. Take a look. I will never give the name of this method as customer details printer. Never. If I see any of my programmers defining a function like this, I will throw it out. I will throw this class back on his face and say that this is not the way you define your function. What was you see? Maybe the meaning is same, but no. Customer details printer? No, I will never say. I will never give a name. I'll say print customer details. It must be a verb. It's an action. Print customer details. It must be an action. The class name must be a noun. The name, the name of the function, the name of the method must start with a verb. It must start with a verb. It must talk about an action that will be performed. And what is that action that will be performed over here? This particular function is responsible for printing the details of the customer, the ID of the customer, the name of the customer, the address of the customer, the contact details of the customer. I have just as of now just given a dummy statement over here, but then otherwise there can be a lot of things that can go here in print customer details. And the properties, don't you think these are the valid properties of, so sorry, these are the valid properties of a customer? A customer will definitely have, okay, I'll say ID. A customer will have an identification, right? In my database, I'll say private, I'll say string name. My customer will definitely have a name. I'll say private string, okay, address. Don't worry about what that private is. Think go step by step. And things starts unfolding. You don't worry about it. Like you must see that that's how programming is, that's how programming is. If I think that, okay, if I'm learning new thing and if I must understand everything in that new thing right on day one, and whatever I see in front of my screen, I must understand everything. It's impossible. Things starts unfolding as you start working on it, right? You must keep working on it, then the things will start unfolding. So please, not it's absolutely fine if currently you may have hundreds of questions. Why is this public? Why is this class? What is this package? Why is this void? No worries, just focus on what I'm explaining. The rest of the things will start unfolding as you work more and more on Java. So I have defined the properties: ID, name, address. These are the properties, right? any object any object of class customer will have ID, name, and address. I'm sorry. Any object of this class will have ID, name, and address. Any object of this class, on that object of this class, this behavior can be invoked. I'll repeat my point. Any object of this class will have ID, name, and address. Any object of this class will definitely behave, when you invoke print customer details, it will behave the way you have defined it over here. As simple as this, right? Can there be more than one objects of the class? Yes, that's what classes are for. Correct. So don't worry, I'm going to come back to interfaces in a moment. I go back to demo.java here. I have created one customer. Let me rename this to customer one, and this is customer one. Sorry. Okay. Can't I create other objects? Okay. So let me do one thing. I'll say IBM is actually the name of this object, not customer one. I'll say IBM dot. And when I say customer, I'll say Wipro is equal to new customer. Okay. And I'll say Wipro, I'll say dot. Okay. Wipro dot print customer details. Okay. Now see, it's going to print exactly the same values. The only reason is that I have hard coded the values. I repeat, I have hard coded the values. Let me remove that hard coding here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I will create setter getter methods. I'll say source and I'll say setter getter methods. And then, I'll say, don't worry about this. Don't worry. Even if you know, um, don't understand what I've done here, that's absolutely fine. What you need to focus on is this. What I'm talking about is there are three properties of this class, and these are the setter getter methods using which I will be able to set the values and get the values. I repeat, set the values and get the values. Okay, of the object of that class. And then print customer details. I have hard coded. Now I will remove the hard coding. I'll say plus, I'll say plus, I'll say this dot ID plus, I'll write this dot name. Don't worry about what this is. I'm not explaining to you what this means and what does this operator this mean. No, 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 no. What am I explaining? That object has got properties and it has got a behavior. Please focus only on these two things. An object has got properties and it has got a behavior. Now see this object here, friends. IBM dot new customer, and I say IBM dot print customer details. Before that, I'll say IBM dot. Okay, I'll say set ID. I'm setting the ID. I'm setting the state of that object. See this, I'm setting the state of this object. I'll say 101, correct? And I'll say IBM dot set name. Okay, what is that? Oh, sorry, IBM dot, I'll say set name. Now when I say sorry, I could have said address also said, I'll say name. Now when I say set name, I'll say IBM. Okay, I say IBM global. Let me put something like this, IBM global. Okay, and then I have Wipro. I'll say Wipro dot set ID. Now see, it's so very interesting and beautiful stuff over here. And then I say Wipro dot set name. And when I say set name, I'll say Wipro Limited. Right? This is the name. Try and understand. How many objects did I create of a class? Class is the same, customer, customer. How many objects? Two objects. One is IBM, the other is Wipro. IBM has got its own state. Wipro has got its own state. The state of IBM is the ID is 101, name is IBM Global. The state of Wipro is ID is 102, and the state is Wipro Limited. You can see this. So you've got classes, not one. There can be hundreds and thousands of classes in an application. You have state of an object. You create hundreds of objects of that classes as need be. I repeat, as need be in your application, you will have hundreds of classes of that class. And then what you do is that you set the state of that object. So each object will have its own state. Correct. So this customer object has got its own state. The state is 101 and IBM Global, and it has got its own. Wipro has got its own state 102 and Wipro Limited. And now see this print customer details and print customer details. These are what? These are two. What are these? These are two. I mean, this is just print customer details is the method, right? It justifies the behavior. So not two, I'm sorry, it's one behavior, but then invoked on two different objects. I say IBM dot print customer details. Here I'm saying Wipro dot print customer details. Now tell me one thing. See, the properties of human being is, color. Okay. Color is the property. Okay. Now, my color, I'm going to have my color on my face. I cannot use your color on my face. Similarly, you will use your color on your face. Your color is on your face. You cannot use my color, right? So each and every object will use in its own state. I repeat, each and every object will use its own state. So here, when I say print customer details for IBM, you can see this. This is the behavior which is this dot ID. What is this? This refers to its own object. This refers to its own self. When I say this dot shirt, it's my shirt that I'm referring to. When you say this dot shirt, it's your shirt that you refer to. When I say this dot shirt, it cannot be anything other than my own shirt, right? So this dot ID refers to the object that is created. And here in this case, which is that object, friends? IBM is the object that I am. You can see this. I have just, split the two. I've got IBM.print customer details. When I do that, this dot ID will refer to the state of IBM, its own ID, its own name. And when the same function is executed on Wipro, what is written? This dot ID and this dot name must be printed. This means what? Here, when I say Wipro.print customer details, common sense, needless to say, do you think it will print the values of IBM? No, it will print its own state. So Wipro.print customer details, this dot ID will be executed. I mean, this statement will be executed, and this dot ID will refer to the ID of Wipro. This dot name will refer to the name of Wipro. Why? Because print customer details has been invoked on Wipro. Why? Because Wipro dot name has been set to Wipro Limited. Correct? That's how it is. I'll close this now. See this. Now I will click right mouse button and see what gets printed. I'll say run as Java application. See this here. Okay. You have got print customer once. See printing customer 101 and IBM Global, printing customer 102 Wipro. You can see this limited. This is the result of print customer details of IBM and then print customer details of this. Where is this coming from? Right at the top, when I started with publish starting void main, this is what I have written. You have understood now. You've got the concept of classes and you've got the concept of, okay, objects. Objects are created of classes. There can be hundreds of objects created of a given class. Each and every object will have its own state, right? That's very, very important. Now, another important point. I'll close this. Okay. As I was saying, you can have interfaces. Very important point, extremely important point. You can have interfaces and classes. And this is one of, see, classes and interfaces both are the building blocks of your entire Java application. And as I said, the concept of classes and interfaces is across all the programming platforms. So what is an interface? Can you define the behavior here? You cannot define the behavior here. Why? See the name interface. What does that mean? It declares the behavior that some other class will implement. I repeat, your interface declares the behavior. It does not implement the behavior. From Java 1.8 onwards, there can be default behavior implemented. That's fine. But then otherwise, this is abstract. This is not concrete. See, these are the two terms you will come across a lot in your programming career. Abstract and concrete. Abstract and concrete. What is abstract? Something that cannot be instantiated. What is abstract? Something that you cannot create an object of an abstract class or an abstract interface. And concrete is something, yes, you can create an object of it. Yes, you can create an instance of it. Object and instance are almost one and the same thing. There is a subtle difference, which we will discuss later if time permits. But then otherwise, you've got interfaces, which is abstract, just the declaration. And then you have got classes that actually provides the behavior also, and it can be instantiated as well, right? And it has got the implementation of the behavior. Here you will not have the implementation of the behavior. Here you will have only and only the declaration of the behavior. So public void, I'll say calculate tax. This is the behavior. Make a note. I'm putting a semicolon there. I did not write the body of the function. Why? Because as I said, this is abstract. I will not have the body of the method here at all. Public void calculate tax. And here you go. It's just simply the declaration of the service. It's just the declaration. So this is a contract that any class can sign. A class can say, okay, I will implement tax calculator. What does that mean? That class will have to provide the implementation of calculate tax. As of now, just understand that interface will be just simply the declaration of the services. It will be the declaration of a function. This is also what? This is a function. It's just the declaration of the function. That's it. It's just the declaration of the function. No implementation at all. Now, I'll see what I'm doing. I'll say class, and I will give the name of the class as GST tax calculator. Okay. GST tax calculator. Now, this GST tax calculator, I will say implements tax calculator. See the fun now. Okay. See what I've done. I'm saying public class GST tax calculator. I'm saying implements tax calculator. And it is giving me an error here. See, note, and you know what? Whenever you are writing your code, whenever you are writing a program, friends, please make sure that whenever there is an error, you read the error message very carefully. Half the war is won there and there itself. Many of people, they've got a habit of just keep wondering, and then they go back to the source code and see. No, don't go back to the source code as a next step. First step is read the error message carefully. So here you see what is the error message here. The type GST tax calculator must implement the inherited abstract method tax calculator. Must implement. Must implement. Why? Because this is anyways abstract, and it has got the declaration of the service. And here this class is signing a contract using implement, saying I will implement the tax calculator. But if you're saying I will implement, then where is the implementation of calculate tax? This particular class must provide the implementation of calculate tax. So here you are. Now there is no error at all. Why? Because there is now the implementation here. Though the implementation is empty, but there is an implementation, open brackets and close bracket. You can see this, open brackets and close bracket. Here also, if I give a semicolon, then again there is a problem. Then there is a problem. Now see what is the error message here. It says that the method requires a body instead of a semicolon. It very clearly tells you, because you're saying it is supposed to override. That means it is supposed to provide the implementation of tax calculator, calculate tax method. Where is the implementation? If you just give a semicolon, you'll say body likho to sahi. You must write the body of the method. And here I write system.out.println. I'm just hard coding GST tax, okay, at the rate of 18% on whatever. I'm just leaving it as this. Okay. So this is the implementation. Now, take a look at this. When I go back to my demo.java, here I have talked about customer. Now let me talk about this interfaces and stuff. See what I'm writing and see the error that I'm going to get. I'm writing something here and I'm going to get an error. And please see what that error is. I'll say GST tax calculator T is equal to new GST tax calculator. See the error message that I'm going to get. Sorry. This is what I meant. Tax calculator T is equal to new tax calculator. Okay. See the error message now. Okay. What it says, see, cannot instantiate a type tax calculator. What it says, cannot instantiate. That means it cannot create an object of tax calculator. Why? Because as I mentioned, this is just the declaration of the service. If at all it allowed you to create the instance of tax calculator, in other words, the object of tax calculator, and if you end up invoking calculate tax, what will it execute? There is a semicolon here. There is no body of the method. So you cannot directly instantiate this tax calculator because this is just an interface. Correct? It's an abstraction. I repeat, it is an abstraction. It's not concrete. What is concrete is GST tax calculator. This is a class, not an interface. This is a class that implements some interface, right? And it takes the guarantee. It says, okay, I'm implementing tax calculator. Whatever are the functions declared here, not implemented, declared here. It says I take the guarantee of implementing it and it provides the implementation. I go back here. So I'll say new and I'll say GST tax calculator. Now it works. Tax calculator T is equal to new GST tax calculator. You will see, oh, you did not write GST tax calculator here. Even that works. But then you have written just tax calculator here. That also works. No problem. I will explain this later to you. But then as of now, understand that an interface, a reference variable of type interface can very well be instantiated to the concrete class. I repeat, the reference variable of an interface can very well be instantiated to the, to the concrete class. Now, when I say T dot, okay, calculate tax, and now you see this, I will click right mouse button, run as Java application. You see this GST tax at the rate of 18%. Where is this coming from? This is coming from, now take a look. When I can, I just move my mouse pointer here. It says, this IDE is very intelligent. It says, do you want me to open the declaration or the implementation? Take a look. So when I say open the declaration, it will take me to tax calculator. This is the declaration. Okay. When I come here and I say open implementation, it will take me to the implementation of calculate tax. You can see this here. So very simple, easy to understand. Correct. So that's how it is. Interfaces are integral part of your applications, Java applications, and in many places you will find interfaces, interfaces. Huge, these interfaces are the building blocks of APIs as well, application programming interfaces, wherein they declare the interfaces and you have got to work with a plug and play architecture wherein your application is dependent on the interfaces and not on the implementation, so that you can plug and play different implementations. Don't worry, just make note of this. your application being programmed into interfaces, not to implementation, so that you can plug and play different implementations. So you will come across a lot many times, concept of classes. I mean, that's an integral part. Not that you will come across, you will be writing day in and day out classes, and you will be creating objects of those classes, and you will be creating interfaces. You will be declaring functions on those interfaces. You will be creating classes that will implement those interfaces. Correct? And or maybe when you are using Java library, you will find tons of classes that are written by Java. You will find there are tons of classes, interfaces that are already there in Java library, and then you make use of those classes and interfaces, and you write the application. Correct? As of now, I hardly used, say for example, here in this class here in customer class, I did make use of ID, name and address, which is int, string and string. These are all data types of Java. These are the data types in Java. I did not write string, but string is actually a class. Why I did not import? Because string is a class in java.lang. Any class that is in java.lang package, you don't need to really implement it. So I had planned a lot of things actually for today's session, but then your we have reached here. Any program works with the logic, methods, and the classes and the data, right? What is the data? See, this is the data. This is the class. This is the data. Properties defined in the class. That's the data. But now this data is, some important points you need for non-primitive data structure. We'll come to that later, if time permits. I don't think we have time today. We can have other, subsequent sessions. Not a problem.